Ghost of the Void. The archives would later call it the Sundering, the day when humanity's last organized fleet was shattered above the skies of Earth. The collective had come with overwhelming force, thousands of ships from a dozen species united by a single purpose: to ensure that humans would never threaten galactic peace again. That was 7 years ago. Supreme Commander Zax Toril of the Collective stood before the massive viewport of Orbital Command Station Primaris, his 4 arms clasped behind his back. His scales shimmered with agitation as he studied the holographic display showing yet another destroyed outpost, the 6th this month. "This cannot continue," he said, his voice a low rumble. "What do we know?" Intelligence Officer Miraven stepped forward, the luminescent patterns on her skin pulsing with anxiety. "Very little, Supreme Commander. The attack follows the same pattern as the others. No warning, no communications. Our defenses were neutralized almost instantly. 3,000 personnel lost. And the assailant? Only glimpses from damaged sensors." Miraven's slender fingers danced across the holographic interface, bringing up a blurry image. Zax Toril leaned forward. The image showed a shadow against stars, angular and predatory. Unmistakably human in design, but unlike any warship the Collective had encountered during the war. "Impossible," he whispered. "The human fleets were destroyed. Their shipyards dismantled. Their engineers conscripted or imprisoned. There is a name," Miraven said hesitantly, "whispered by survivors. They call it the Nemesis." "A myth," Zax Toril scoffed. "A ghost story the vanquished tell themselves." But even as he spoke, a cold feeling settled in his primary heart. The Nemesis had been rumored during the war, a secret project, a ship of unprecedented power that would turn the tide. The Collective had devoted considerable resources to finding it, destroying every facility that might be constructing it. They had been thorough. They had been certain. "Increase security at all Collective installations," he ordered. "Triple the patrols along the former human territories. Find this ghost." On the frontier outpost of Corell's Drift, Fleet Captain Eridu watched the approaching storm with growing unease. Not a meteorological phenomenon, but rather the dark nebula of unrest spreading through the lower decks of his station. The rumors were becoming impossible to contain. A human warship striking Collective targets with impunity, disappearing without a trace, leaving no survivors except those needed to spread terror. "Captain, we've received new security protocols from Command," his executive officer reported. Eridu nodded, barely hearing the words. His attention was fixed on the long-range scanners, searching the void for any anomaly, any hint of the approaching phantom. He had fought in the war. He had seen human ingenuity firsthand, their desperate, clever adaptations in the face of superior Collective technology. He had counseled caution when the Collective Senate had voted for the Sundering. Exterminating a species was one thing. Trying to exterminate humanity was another entirely. They had not listened. The alert klaxon shattered his thoughts. Unidentified vessel approaching. No transponder signal. "Battle stations," Eridu ordered calmly. "Bring all weapons online. Deploy interceptors." The view screen shifted to show the approaching vessel, and Eridu's heart stuttered. It was sleek and black, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. No energy signatures, no radiation, a hole in space shaped like a warship. "Sir, we're being hailed," his communications officer said, surprise evident in her voice. On screen. The view screen flickered, and Eridu found himself looking at a human female. Her skin was pale, her eyes the color of frozen nitrogen. She wore a simple black uniform with no insignia, no rank. "This is Captain Alexandra Frost of the United Earth ship Nemesis," she said, her voice unnaturally calm. "Your installation has been marked for destruction as retribution for crimes against humanity. You have 10 minutes to evacuate non-essential personnel." Eridu leaned forward. "This is Fleet Captain Eridu of the Collective. Your people surrendered. The war is over. Stand down your vessel or. The war is not over, Frost interrupted. It has merely changed. 9 minutes, 50 seconds remaining. The transmission cut. Eridu turned to his executive officer. Begin evacuation procedures. And get me a direct line to Supreme Commander Zax Toril. Across the vast expanse of the collective's territory, the pattern repeated. Outposts and installations that had once belonged to humanity, now repurposed by their conquerors, were systematically targeted. The nemesis appeared without warning, delivered its message, and then struck with horrifying precision. Across the vast expanse of the collective's territory, the pattern repeated. Outposts and installations that had once belonged to humanity, now repurposed by their conquerors, were systematically targeted. The nemesis appeared without warning, delivered its message, and then struck with horrifying precision. Conventional weapons seemed useless against it. Energy shields failed. Kinetic barriers might as well have been missed. The ship moved in ways that defied known propulsion technology, as if the laws of physics bent around it. In the Grand Council chamber on Collective Prime, Zax Toril faced the representatives of 17 species, all demanding answers. How is this possible? Demanded Councillor Grax, his armored carapace clicking with agitation. One ship cannot threaten the entire collective. This is no ordinary ship, Zax Toril admitted. Our analysts believe it may incorporate technology from the precursor artifacts discovered in human space decades ago. A murmur ran through the chamber. The precursors, an ancient race whose technological remnants have been found throughout the galaxy. Most were inert, incomprehensible, but humans had shown an uncanny ability to activate and adapt them. It was one of the reasons the collective had moved against Earth. We have assembled a special task force, Zax Toril continued. Our most advanced vessels, our best commanders. We will hunt down this nemesis and destroy it. And what of the human captain's demands? Asked Velasim, the Xerlian ambassador, her tentacles writhing with concern. This Frost wants the return of all former human worlds. Impossible, Zax Toril said firmly. Those worlds are now home to billions of collective citizens. The resources are integrated into our economy. Besides, giving in to terrorism would only encourage further human resistance. The chamber fell silent as the implications settled. For 7 years, they had believed humanity broken, contained. Now they faced the possibility that their victory had been incomplete. Find this ship, ordered Premier Thomac, her voice echoing in the chamber. Destroy it, and ensure that no more such vessels exist. Captain Alexandra Frost stood in the observation deck of the Nemesis, watching the stars drift by. The ship moved silently through the void, its revolutionary drive leaving no trace, no signature that conventional sensors could detect. Behind her, Commander Eli Chen approached, his footsteps whisper quiet on the deck. The collective has assembled a task force, he reported. 30 ships, including their latest dreadnoughts. Frost nodded, unsurprised. And the data package. Transmitted to all the sleeper cells. If we don't make the next check-in, they'll release everything we've gathered. The atrocities, the experiments, the true reason the collective attacked Earth. Good. Frost turned, her gaze hard as tempered steel. Set course for Collective Prime. Chen's eyes widened. The capital. Their defenses are impenetrable. A small, cold smile touched Frost's lips. Nothing is impenetrable, Commander. Especially to a ghost. The Nemesis was more than a ship. It was humanity's last hope, built in secret even as the war turned against them. A vessel incorporating technology that the collective had feared enough to destroy an entire civilization to prevent. But they had failed. Now, the ghost ship was bringing the war to them. The battle around Nexus Station unfolded with terrible beauty. The collective task force had set their trap carefully. Layered defenses, overlapping fields of fire, sensors calibrated to detect even the faintest anomaly. Yet when the Nemesis appeared, it was not where they expected. It materialized inside their formation, a black dagger in the heart of their carefully arranged fleet. Fleet Admiral Krex watched in horror as his command ship systems failed one by one. Weapons, engines, life support, all shutting down as if the power had simply vanished. "What is happening?" he demanded, his chitinous exoskeleton rattling with fear. "Unknown energy field expanding from the human vessel," his science officer reported, voice trembling. "It appears to be absorbing energy." On the main view screen, the Nemesis glided through the disabled collective fleet, untouched by their increasingly desperate attacks. Conventional missiles passed through where it had been moments before. Energy weapons dissipated harmlessly against its hull. Then the human vessel transmitted, not just to the collective ships, but across all frequencies, to every world and station in range. Captain Frost's calm face appeared on screens throughout the sector. "People of the collective," she said, "your leaders have lied to you. The war against humanity was not a defensive action. It was a calculated extinction, motivated by fear and greed." Behind her, images began to play, recordings from collective facilities where human prisoners were experimented on, documents showing the true value of the resources seized from Earth and its colonies, the secret deliberations of the collective Senate as they decided that humanity's potential was too dangerous to allow. "We do not seek to destroy you," Frost continued. "We seek justice, the return of our worlds, reparations for our dead, and accountability for those who ordered our extinction." The transmission cut off. Moments later, Nexus Station's reactor went critical. The collective fleet, still disabled by the Nemesis' mysterious field, could only watch as the station, and all evidence of what had been done there, vanished in nuclear fire. The Nemesis disappeared into the darkness, but its message echoed across the stars. The ghost had made itself known, and the war of retribution had only begun. Vengeance and redemption. Supreme Commander Zax Toril stood before the emergency session of the Collective Senate, feeling the weight of 1,000 accusatory stares. The chamber, normally a model of decorum, had dissolved into chaos following the destruction of Nexus Station and the Nemesis broadcast. "Order!" roared Premier Thomac, her massive fist crashing down on the podium. "We will have order." The cacophony gradually subsided, replaced by a tense silence. "Is it true?" asked Councillor Velasim, her voice soft but carrying throughout the chamber. "Did we attack the humans not because they threatened us, but because we feared what they might become?" Zax Toril felt his secondary hearts constrict. "The decision was made by the previous administration," he said carefully. "But yes, intelligence suggested that human experimentation with precursor technology was advancing rapidly. The risk was deemed unacceptable." "And the experiments?" pressed another counselor. "The ones shown in that transmission." "Unauthorized," Zax Toril lied smoothly. "Rogue elements within our scientific community. They will be punished." But he could see the doubt in their eyes. The Nemesis had done more than destroy a station. It had sown discord within the collective itself. "What matters now," Zax Toril continued, "is stopping this vessel before it can do more damage. Our scientists have been analyzing its capabilities, and we believe we found a weakness." It was another lie, but he needed time. Time to deploy his secret weapon, a technology the Senate had explicitly forbidden, yet he had developed anyway. If the humans could harness precursor technology, so could he. "The Nemesis will be destroyed," he promised, "and this brief human resistance will be crushed, once and for all." In the temporary command center established on the moon of Collective Prime, Zax Toril oversaw the final preparations. The prototype weapon, codenamed Sunbreaker, hummed with ominous energy, its core pulsing with a sickly green light. "The weapon draws power directly from subspace," explained Chief Scientist Nevelar, her compound eyes gleaming with pride. "When detonated, it will create a cascade failure in any precursor-derived technology within the blast radius. If the Nemesis relies on such technology, it will be rendered powerless." "And the civilian casualties?" asked Fleet Captain Eridu, who had survived the destruction of Carell's Drift and now served as Zax Toral's skeptical conscience. Acceptable, Zax Toral said curtly. This ends now. His plan was simple. The Nemesis had been systematically attacking locations associated with human experimentation or exploitation. Their intelligence suggested the next target would be Research Station Omega, where the most advanced studies of human biology had been conducted. They would evacuate the station's leadership, leaving only a skeleton crew as bait. When the Nemesis appeared, they would detonate the Sunbreaker. "Sir," his communications officer interrupted. "We're receiving a transmission." It's from the Nemesis." Zax Toral frowned. "How?" "We've established no communication channels. They appear to have hacked our secure network." The main screen flickered to life, showing Captain Frost. This time, she looked weary, a hint of humanity breaking through her cold facade. "Supreme Commander," she said, "I thought it appropriate to speak directly." "You've caused enough damage, human," Zax Toral snarled. "Surrender your vessel, and perhaps some of your crew will be spared." Frost smiled thinly. "We both know that's not going to happen, but I wanted you to understand something. The Nemesis isn't just a weapon of vengeance, it's a beacon. A beacon for what? For the truth, and for those who were hidden." Before Zax Toral could respond, the transmission cut off. He turned to his intelligence officer. What did she mean by those who were hidden? No one had an answer. Captain Frost stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, looking at the tactical display showing Research Station Omega. The trap was obvious, too obvious. The sudden evacuation of high-ranking personnel, the skeleton crew left behind, the unusual energy readings from a nearby moon. "They're planning something," Commander Chen observed. "A new weapon, perhaps." Frost nodded. "Almost certainly, but the station still contains data we need. Evidence of what they've been doing to human prisoners. So we're still going in." "Yes," Frost said, "but not as they expect." The Nemesis was more than it appeared. Its revolutionary drive system, adapted from precursor technology, allowed it to manipulate space-time in ways the collective couldn't comprehend. But its true power lay elsewhere, in its ability to communicate. "Activate the beacon," Frost ordered. Deep within the ship, a system unlike any other hummed to life. Not a weapon, but a signal, complex, layered, encoded with information that only specific receivers could interpret. Across the territory once controlled by humanity, those receivers activated. In hidden bases, in asteroid belts, in the shadows of gas giants, ships stirred. Not the grand battleships of Earth's former fleet, but smaller vessels. Faster, deadlier, built in secret during the final days of the war, then scattered and hidden. The sleeper fleet awakened. On Research Station Omega, the skeleton crew waited nervously. They knew they were bait, but had been assured the collective's new weapon would protect them. The alert came without warning. Not the appearance of the dreaded Nemesis, but rather dozens of smaller contacts, appearing simultaneously throughout the system. "Sir," the panicked communications officer called to the station commander. "We're surrounded." On Collective Prime, Zax Toral received the news with cold dread. Not one ship, but many. A coordinated attack that shouldn't have been possible. "Impossible," he whispered. "We destroyed their fleet, their command structure, their ability to organize." The beacon, Fleet Captain Eridu realized. She said the Nemesis was a beacon. Zax Toral's scales paled. "Deploy the Sunbreaker. Now." But it was too late. The human ship struck with precision born of years of planning. Not randomly, not with blind vengeance, but surgically, targeting the moon where the Sunbreaker was hidden. The prototype weapon never activated. Instead, it imploded, the subspace energy it had gathered collapsing inward, creating a temporary singularity that consumed the moon and everything on it. In the chaos that followed, the Nemesis finally appeared, materializing directly above Research Station Omega. Not to destroy it, but to retrieve the data it contained, evidence that would be broadcast throughout the galaxy. 3 days later, in the Grand Council chamber on Collective Prime, Premier Thomac faced an unprecedented crisis. Representatives from a dozen member species were demanding answers, threatening to withdraw from the collective entirely if the truth wasn't acknowledged. The evidence retrieved by the Nemesis had been damning, not just of the atrocities committed against humans, but of the lies told to justify them. The experiments hadn't been unauthorized. They had been sanctioned at the highest levels. The war hadn't been defensive. It had been preventative genocide. "We must negotiate," Thomac declared, overriding Zax Toral's objections. "The human fleet has proven itself capable of striking anywhere within our territory. If they wished to destroy us, they could have done so already." "They're bluffing," Zax Toral insisted. "They don't have the numbers." "Enough," Thomac cut him off. "Your strategy has failed, Commander. Your secret weapons have failed. Now we will try diplomacy." The communication channel opened, and Captain Frost appeared before the gathered representatives of the collective. "Captain," Thomac began, "the collective Senate wishes to discuss terms." Frost's expression remained neutral. "The terms are non-negotiable. The return of all human worlds, reparations for the billions killed, and those responsible for the genocide brought to justice." "Impossible," Zax Toral sputtered. "Those worlds have been settled by colonists who knew they were taking stolen property," Frost interrupted. "They will be given safe passage back to their homeworlds. As for justice," she looked directly at Zax Toral, and he felt a chill run through his body. "We have transmitted evidence of your personal involvement in the decision to attack Earth, as well as the experiments conducted on human prisoners, to every member world of the collective. Your own people will demand your head, Commander." The chamber erupted in shouting. Zax Toral reached for his sidearm, but guards, his own guards, stepped forward to restrain him. "One more thing," Frost added as chaos engulfed the chamber. "The Nemesis was never just a warship. It is the ark that carries the future of humanity, the combined knowledge of our civilization, the seeds of our rebirth. Even if you had destroyed us, we would have endured." 1 year later, Alexandra Frost stood on the observation deck of the Nemesis, now docked at the newly reconstructed orbital station above Earth. Below, the planet was slowly healing, the scars of the collective's bombardment gradually fading as nature reclaimed the land. Commander Chen joined her, bringing 2 glasses of genuine Earth whiskey, a luxury that had been impossible just months ago. "To victory," he said, offering her a glass. Frost shook her head. "Not victory. Survival." They drank in silence, watching the lights of the returning colony ships as they descended toward their homeworld. The human diaspora, scattered to hidden corners of the galaxy during the war, was returning. "What happens to the Nemesis now?" Chen asked. "To its technology." Frost considered the question. The ship had served its purpose, not just as a weapon, but as a symbol. The precursor technology it contained had given humanity an edge, but it had also been the catalyst for the collective sphere. "We share it," she said finally, "openly. With the collective, with anyone who wishes to study it. No more secrets, no more fear of what others might do with knowledge." Chen looked surprised. "That's a risk. So is hiding it. So is hoarding power." Frost turned to face him. "The collective attacked us because they feared we would become a threat. If we respond by becoming exactly what they feared, we prove them right." Outside the viewport, Earth continued its slow rotation, the blue and green of its surface a testament to life's resilience. Not just human life, but all life, interconnected, interdependent. The Nemesis had been built for vengeance, but its legacy would be peace. Not the peace of subjugation that the collective had imposed, but a true peace built on understanding, on acknowledgement of past wrongs, and on the shared journey toward something better. Besides, Frost added with a small smile, "We still have the fleet, just in case."